Hello, beautiful people of this channel. Thank you for being here. My name is Jana. Today, I wanted to talk about Yoga Nidra and it's boosting the dopamine in the brain and just how powerfully that can benefit us. As I'm recording this meditation, the temperature dropped about 20 degrees per a typical Texas spring. And it's raining. It's misty. I can't hardly see my neighbors on the other side of the hills. It's very dark and cloudy. It's a day that past me would have never said was beautiful. The dopamine in my brain was so low that any cloudy day would just take me down with it. So I can recognize within myself immediately that my dopamine levels have been regulated and radically changed my perspective on life. The fact that I look out of these windows and see, I can't really see past my house. And I'm like, yeah, great. It's a beautiful day. I love it. And never would have heard that from me before I began this regular practice of Yoga Nidra. So as I said, today's video, I wanted to talk about that boosting the dopamine in the brain. What is dopamine? We've always been taught that dopamine was the feel-good hormone in the brain. However, a little bit of a shift on perspective, dopamine is a neurotransmitter and neurohormone within the brain that directly relates to the brain's reward system, which influences motivation, pleasure, and movement. Something you can look up on Google. That's what I did. So yeah, like I said, we've always known dopamine as that feel-good transmitter and that feel-good chemical in the brain, but it's actually the motivator to those feel-good chemicals. So when you boost the dopamine, it motivates you to want to move the body. It motivates you to want to take action. It motivates you to want to feel better and show up happier. So dopamine is a motivator. So let's start thinking of it in that regard and shifting the perspective a bit on the chemical itself, being more of a cheerleader. Dopamine's your cheerleader. And in another video, I discussed about dopamine being, we all have a base level of dopamine. And it varies between person to person. But your base level of dopamine is derived from how your basic needs are met: food, water, shelter, other provisions. When those needs are being met through difficulty, through chronic stress, worry, or overwhelm, then the dopamine levels are just continuing to fall rather than rise. You lose motivation. So when you come home from work, the last thing you want to do is you feel motivated to do things around the house or go out with friends. You just want to lay there, right? So as we're learning about dopamine and shifting the perspective from the feel-good chemical to the motivator, we immediately learn that when the dopamine levels are low, you lack motivation, including the motivation to get a good night's sleep. In the brain tends to feel more happy. You naturally feel better. You show up better. You sleep better. It's just a natural response when that hormone is balanced in the body. You show up differently. You have more patience, more understanding, more compassion, less anxiety, anger, and irritability. So dopamine is a really, really powerful hormone that we need to pay attention to on a daily basis. Just being a little bit more aware of ourselves and how that body works. So how do you know where your dopamine levels are? Do you think you know off the top of your head? Just listening to that brief description of dopamine, do you feel like your dopamine levels are high? Do you feel like they're low, or do you feel like they're regulated? You immediately know. So let's first look at the low dopamine symptoms. This is most of us. Or spasms, difficulty with balance, You might have slower movements, or the movements might feel like they need to take a little bit more effort. Have a lot of digestive issues. Who doesn't have that? Fatigue or sleep problems. So that's the physical symptoms of low dopamine. The mental and emotional symptoms of low dopamine would be lack in motivation, chronic tiredness and sleepiness, difficulty concentrating, dramatic mood swings, anxiety, sadness, low sex drive, loss of interest in things that you previously enjoyed, or feeling hopelessness. How many of us have struggled through these emotions throughout our lives, and if not more prevalently, the last 5 years since 2020? Other signs of a low dopamine might be forgetfulness, reduced facial expressions, or difficulty swallowing or speaking, hallucinations, delusions. Those are maybe some extreme examples there, but they do resonate. So how do you fall? Are you in any of these states right now? For me personally, I have a lot of muscle stiffness and can have a lot of spasms at night. That's my indication. When I lay down and my body just starts having a lot of spasms, that's my indication that my dopamine is low for my personal body. Same thing with the chronic fatigue. I've had that many years. Anxiety, yep, right here. I've definitely moved through feelings of hopelessness. So these are all signs of where you might be now. If that's you now, that's okay. That's okay. There's hope. So let's listen to the other half of this, because every pendulum swings in right and left in one direction and the other, right? So if we've got low, we've always got a high. So high dopamine symptoms: restlessness, increased energy, insomnia, tremors, poor impulse control, paranoia. Did you notice that anxiety was listed in high and low dopamine? So anxiety is clearly a symptom of a dysregulation in one form or another. Is what you want to always do in life, is just finding that balance, The conditions of a dopamine imbalance. So disease that derives from the imbalance. ADHD. How many people are getting diagnosed with that these days? Depression. Same thing. Addiction. Parkinson's. Schizophrenia. Parkinson's and schizophrenia might be a little bit more rare. So for myself personally, I have on several occasions been diagnosed with depression. When I was diagnosed, it has happened. I've resolved it different ways through different areas of my life. As a child, when I was diagnosed with depression, I was put on a bunch of pills and it made me 10 times worse. I never got better. Never. Got off the pills. As an adult, when I was diagnosed with depression, I went to an Ayurvedic practitioner. I changed the way I ate. I completely overhauled my lifestyle. The depression went away in 2 months. Never needed to take medication. So I tend to gravitate towards these more holistic practices in my personal life. That's for me, The medication is there for a reason. If you have any of these diagnoses, there is medication for a reason and for a purpose. The way that pharma sells it. Take this medication, you'll feel 100% better. No. Even me with the Yoga Nidra. Don't just do Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is not going to make you 100% better. You must use it in tandem with other practices that are healing the mind and body. There is no holistic or modern medicine quick fix. Every single one of them takes effort, it takes time, it takes work, it takes diligence, it takes awareness. It sometimes takes more than what you have to give. Let's be honest. It sometimes takes more than what you have to give, and that's okay too. Be where you are with it. Be where you are with it. That's all right. Be where you are. And when you accept where you are, that's okay. then you have the more room to make those more radical changes that are long-term, long-lasting, not just short-term, long-lasting changes. So anytime you want to rid the body or mind of disease, you must first look at the symptoms. So let's use depression for conversation's sake, since I have experienced that before. Functioning through depression is sometimes impossible. It's impossible. Some days you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to even do basic hygiene, let alone show up for other people or go to work or do the things, right? It is a struggle when those symptoms are really, really weighing heavy on you. There are factors that do contribute to that deep pressure of depression. Maybe it's a job or a relationship that's sucking the life out of you. Maybe it's an eating habit or substance overuse or abuse. Perhaps those are the culprits for the depression. Oftentimes, depression needs a lifestyle change. A lifestyle change, meaning what you do to rid yourself of the disease is to change the way you're showing up. But just as an example, right, there are always lifestyle adjustments that can be made to help shift you out of the depths of the weighted emotions. And it's important through those shifts, through those lifestyle changes, that your mindset and your energy are aligned and that you monitor your mindset and your energy output. So Yoga Nidra is a meditation that puts the body into a deep state of rest. Often we're depressed because we've been living in a dynamic that is no longer working, and we're trying to force that dynamic to continue to work when it's no longer supposed to be working. So the depression and the anxiety sink in and they magnify more and more and more and more and more the longer we stay in that environment. Then your body, your physical body, needs a deep, deep rest. So the brain becomes, quote unquote, depressed. The body needs a deep state of rest and healing to heal the nervous system in order to remove yourself from that situation and in order to break the emotional pattern. So when you're in a state of depression, you're in an emotional pattern. The pattern of waking up and feeling the woes, the pattern of moving through the day and feeling the woes, the pattern of going to bed at night and feeling the woes. Maybe you're not even sleeping at night. Maybe you're not sleeping, right? Maybe that's part of your depression. But it is an emotional pattern that you're sitting within. Whether it's depression, ADHD, whatever disease is coming from the dysregulation. You are sitting in that pattern. So when you take time away from the situation, you're able to shift the pattern, break the pattern. For example, there have been times where I have been so depressed I could not get off the sofa. But I had a husky. And huskies need to walk many tens and tens and tens of miles a day. We didn't do that. We did 5 miles a day. But during my deepest depression state, she would not let me lay on the couch. I had to get up and walk her 5 miles a day. I did not want to be walking. I did not want to put clothes on. I did not want to present myself to the world. I did not want to be in the world. I didn't want to feel the sunshine on my body. I didn't want to feel the breeze in my hair. I didn't want anyone to smile at me. I didn't want to be involved. But she was like, no, we're going out. So we walked 5 miles a day, and it shifted my emotional pattern every day. At first, I began very irritable, feeling forced by this dog to go walk her. And if you know huskies, you know that you cannot do what they do not want you to do. And if they want you to do something, you do it. Um, if you don't know huskies, then you won't understand. So at first we began walking and I'd be irritable. I don't want to be outside. This is annoying. This is not where I want to be. Then over time, the irritability shifted into just kind of meh, all right, fine. Fine, we'll go for a walk, fine. Okay, fine. Giving in, right? Just giving in. Complacency. Then it moved to me going to her with the leash and saying, all right, let's go for our walk. So slowly, while I did not want to get out of my emotional pattern of the woes, I forced myself through the leadership of my dog to do so. And within a short amount of time, couple weeks, maybe, that depression and those symptoms alleviated themselves. That sense of sadness in the body for me at that time didn't go away because I was moving through divorce. I was living on my own for the first time in my life. I had lost my business that I had started after a year of really good business and clients. All of my clients left at the same time. My entire life had turned upside down. I didn't want to be involved in anything. But just by being willing, just by having the willingness to shift and letting it slowly happen, before I knew it, I was shifted. My mindset had shifted. My dopamine had boosted, causing me to feel better. So that's probably a long explanation of an example of that and how a Yoga Nidra practice can help you by boosting those dopamine levels, how boosted dopamine changes your life. So then once she and I were out walking, then I ended up having so many offers of a new friend group came into my life. I started dating somebody different. Obviously, I was divorced, so it was going to be somebody different from my ex-husband. I started a new job that I loved, and I was so excited to show up for it. So when you boost your dopamine, I didn't go out and seek these jobs out. I didn't go out and seek out these friends. They just showed up because I was willing and open to it. So boosting the dopamine in the body is radically changing in ways that I can't even describe yet because I'm not a scientist. It's not how I'm able to do it, but I can tell you on an emotional and spiritual level of how powerfully this hormone regulation works. And in the case with my dog, I was doing multiple things at once, as I mentioned earlier, saying Yoga Nidra isn't your one quick fix pill. I'm encouraging you to use it as a tool in tandem with other healing modalities for whatever it is that you're going through. You know, I'm using depression as an example. That was because that was my experience of moving through the divorce and all of the things that I've listed, and then walking and meditating and practicing yoga and working with a therapist and journaling. So I was doing many things at once, and all of them were working together to really help my nervous system to begin to heal from the experience of the divorce and everything prior, begin to really heal my mind and body. So I am going to leave it there and let you just digest all the information that I gave you and see where you are and noticing where your nervous system might be and where your dopamine levels might be. And in part 2, we are going to talk about how to create more dopamine. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the Yoga Nidra and how to create more dopamine in your brain. So be sure to check that out. And if you resonated with this video, want to check out more, please like and subscribe to the channel, and definitely check out one of my Yoga Nidra meditations. Maybe one of the categories will align with you. Or if you want a different type of topic, then please send me a message. I'd love to hear from you and know how this is working for you and what you would like to listen to. So thanks again for being here, and I will check you out in the next video.